Let's start with unpacking the processor. Intel Core i7-4790K. In my opinion, it was the best value i7 at the time when I was building my rig. Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo, the best rated inexpensive air cooler for the processor, will be dealing with the heat output. Next in line is motherboard. I went with Asus Z97 Pro Gamer. Cooler standoffs are first to land on the motherboard. You have to screw them together with this piece. One side of it has holes aligned for Intel socket motherboards and another side for AMD. You have to remember not to over tighten the screws and screw them in gradually in crossing pattern. At this moment, I took off the fan from the radiator to make the mounting process a bit easier. CPU has to be placed in just like the motherboard or socket cover indicates. In my case, the triangle has to be in the lower left corner. Socket cover has to be removed, obviously, but motherboard maker advised to keep it, in case of selling the board later or sending it for a warranty. It won't hurt to clean the surface of the CPU with solution created for this purpose. This step is even more important if your processor was used before, as it might be covered with dust or leftovers of previously used thermal paste. Applying thermal paste, you have to remember that less is more. If you put too much of it, you might damage your motherboard or CPU. Screw holes in my board are a little wider, so I have to move the screws on this piece by one step each, just like that. We won't need this sticker anymore. Now align those two parts, so the bolt stays in place designed for it. And we can screw the radiator onto the standoffs. Just like before, few turns at a time in cross pattern. Do it until you see that standoffs are rotating with screws. 16GB of dual-channel Corsair Vengeance DDR3 memory is another thing I picked. Every generation of RAM have cut in different place of the connector, so you can't use DDR3 memory in slot other than for DDR3 memory. And they go in only one way, so be careful or you might damage it. If you are going to use dual channel memory, remember to put both of them in the same color of the slot. In my case, gray slots are 1A and 1B, so I used those. You can find this information in your motherboard's manual. Push it in place until it clicks on both sides. Side of fan should have sign telling which way the air will be going. In most PC cases, it's front to back, so I'm placing it this way. Make sure the fan is plugged in. It's time to get inside the case. Check if motherboard standoffs are installed and if their layout will support your board. screw the motherboard to the case. GB Samsung 850 EVO SSD will be my primary drive. Secondary is 1TB Western Digital Blue drive. Both drives have to be connected to the motherboard with SATA cables. Even though I don't use it that often, I feel more comfortable having internal disk writer in my PC. That's why I chose case with slots for such. The drive I picked is Pioneer Blu-ray Writer. Gaming capabilities of this rig will be highly dependent on this MSI GTX 970 video card. Remember that not every PCIe slot is the same. Their properties could be written either next to the slot or in the motherboard's manual. Another information you can find in the same manual is how to plug in connectors from your case to the board. Powering everything will be Antec's 650-watt power supply. To add some flavor, my case will house NZXT Hue RGB lighting. Thanks for being here all this time. Complete list of parts I've used and their prices are available in the link below. Okay, in a bit.